Hey, what's going on, everyone? I want to make sure before we get in the video, everyone likes, subscribes. That'd be greatly appreciated. Go follow my Twitch links below. I should be streaming more consistently here, hopefully soon. I know I say that a bunch, but I actually mean it this time. So, let's get into some recent news, I guess. We've had a good, pretty eventful week. Just had some news come out 30 minutes ago, which I'll get into in a minute. But two tournaments we ended this week, or I guess weekend, this past weekend, was Fisher Playground 2, and then Belgrade, I think it was. Or no, this was in Belgrade. The ESCA Masters one, the one Navi one, which we'll go talk about that in a minute. But I want to talk about Fisher Playground 2 a little bit first. Obviously, Furia won. Took down Mongols in the grand finals. Very competitive game, and honestly, if you take it away from me, I think Furia top 5 team in the world right now, hands down. Like, there's no doubt about it. Could be one of the best teams in the world, if not the best. That's a little bit more of a yes and no question, maybe. But the matter of the fact is Furia has a lot of momentum heading into, we're closing in on the major here. Not a lot of time left. Invites are about to go out. And they just played phenomenal. And obviously, Molodoy, their guy that they brought in that no one was talking about, he won MVP, and in looking at the grand finals, Yakinder was also one of the best performers and probably had a little bit more impact than Maul in that grand final, and was probably the MVP of that match. Both teams played phenomenal. Honestly, it was a very close series up until really the last map, which was a little bit of a letdown, but I still think Mongols Furia looked great. I think Mongols still, even though they lost, still a top 5 team in the world, no doubt, and going to be a tough team to beat coming into the major. Now, let's just talk about more of the teams in this tournament first before we move on to the less important one. Then we'll get into the news that dropped today. Obviously, some big stories coming out of this is obviously, yeah, Furia winning, and they're looking really good, and the Mongols still kind of keeping to the form that they are. Big surprises, Liquid. I know I talk about them a lot, but if anyone doesn't know, they did not have enough VRS points to get in the major before this event and went 0-2. As you can see, they lost to Gamer Legion in the 0-1. And then they beat Heroic, Tyloo, and FaZe, which I don't know how they beat FaZe, and it was a 2-0 very decidingly, to go to the playoffs. Now, that FaZe game was important because this was Liquid's last event with Twists. And Twists has now gone to FaZe, which someone will replace him, which we'll get into in a minute. But they got enough points, so they will be qualified for the major, even though they have a different roster now, because the core members are still the same. They will still go to the major. And they got to the semifinals, too. Took a map off the Mongols. Probably could have maybe done a little bit more if they actually locked in a little bit. But, they took a map off the Mongols. Mirage, very uncharacteristic of Mongols to lose that one. But, great. Falcons obviously returned to great form. They went 3-0 in the group stage. Semifinals to Furia, which I honestly think is, a better team than them right now, a more complete team than them right now. As hard as that is to say, but it's true. Aurora looked great. They had a good return to form. I mean, just here's their brackets here. You can look it up on HCL TV if you want. G2 looked great, and then obviously Pain and Astrals, for me, are the two teams that just kind of squeaked in. They both had a pretty weak bracket run in the group stage, and then they get to the playoffs, and yeah, they get pretty smacked. Let's just say that. But yeah, that's really about this tournament. Overall, really liked the production. It was the one time, actually, that I couldn't find a stream on Kick or Twitch, excuse me. It was like in a different language on Twitch, and the main stream was on Kick, so I thought that was interesting. But hey, no ads, so I don't care. Now, the other smaller tournament that ended over this weekend was StarSeries Fall 2025 in Budapest. Again, this was a bit of a smaller tournament. Navi won by only dropping a map. And I mean, they honestly should have won this tournament. I don't think this serves really as a surprise to anyone. Gentle Mates, if anyone remembers the Movie Star Riders team from way back in the day in like 2022, that's still like this same core, like if we go to them now, with a few new roster changes. Martinez He used to be on 9Z, and he was great when they had that great run in Dallas, if anyone remembers that a couple years ago, versus I think it was the year that Stewie won with G2, if I remembered correctly. But keep a lookout for this team. This tournament is kind of like, or that tournament star letter kind of showed everyone that there's a little bit of hope there. I don't think they're making the major, unfortunately. We can actually go see if they are, and we can go see the predicted invites. But really, there's not a lot of teams. Well, I guess they will make the major. There's not a lot of teams left that can really make it. Like, this will probably be the first stage that will be in the major. So, what does that mean? Basically, is there's not as much VRS points to go around now because there's not a lot of bigger tournaments, and I'm pretty sure invites go out within like the next week or something like that. But most of these teams, I think, are going to be pretty set in stone. I mean, you might see maybe like, I don't know, Skin Rave or something like that drop out, but for the most part, your top guys, your top dogs that you've seen here are probably going to make it. Like, pretty much, I would say most of the Europe VRS, and really every VRS is pretty good to go, except maybe that final slot. So whichever team is ranked lowest out of their demographic locations, like Americas and Europe, might have a chance to be kicked out of the major, just, if another team jumps them in the major points. But I don't think that'll happen. I think that it's pretty set in stone with who we're going to get in the major now. And yeah, it's going to be a good major, I think, this year. I wish it was in America like it was last major, but that's all right. Now, here is the important news. As you can see up top here, as I said earlier, Twist left for FaZe. And I made a video 2 days ago, but I didn't upload it because I didn't like it and it was on the same topic. I said in that video that Elise would come back to Liquid, and he did. Now, what does this mean for the team? Liquid obviously has a bunch of momentum heading into just new tournaments coming up before the major and in the major, which is how they performed in Fissure. Elige obviously really tenured. He's played with NAF before, and it's really just, to me, how is this team going to adapt from changing from a Twist to Elige? Now, they are very similar players, and they have huge impacts. They're great players, but they don't have the same play style. Twist is a very emotional player, as is Elige, but Elige is controlling at times. He can tone it back when he needs to. He's much more mature than Twist, in my opinion. But honestly, that is going to be a big question going in the major, is how can Liquid perform. Now, not much else to really perform on. Tanir will be on Spirit instead of Zontix, so that's also some pretty big news. That happened on the 7th. And then it is the 24th now, so that was 17 days ago, I think, when that happened. They obviously did not play with him in Blast Open London because that was the 1st of September, and they haven't played a game since. So who knows how Spirit will look. Gamer Legion as well. They added, I forget this guy's name, Hypex. Yeah, I like him. We just got to see what plays out. But events we have coming up that actually have some meaningful stuff. ESL Pro League is going to be starting soon. Ends on October 12th, starts on the 28th of September. We should, everyone watch that. It's going to be a good tournament. And right after that, we got the CS Asia Championships. And then really, that'll take us up to Thunderpick, Bucharest, and then Chengdu. And then it's pretty much the major. So not a lot of tournaments and games to go before we really get into the pinnacle of the season. But yeah. That's about it for me today. As I said, everyone just subscribe, like if you really could. I'd really appreciate it. Follow my Twitch down below. That'd be great. But yeah, I hope everyone has a great day, evening, wherever you are. I'm sure I'll be back pretty soon with some more updates on Pro League whenever that ends. So look for a video on the 12th about Pro League, or 13th, maybe a little bit later. But yeah, see you guys soon. Good night.